What up, fellow One Piece enthusiasts? How you doing? It's your boy, the Sifu. Thank you for coming by. I know it's been a hot second since we done posted, but I'm gonna do what I do when I do it. We're gonna be talking about one of my favorite leaders. I know that I've posted a lot of content on a lot of the same leaders, but it's because I love some of these leaders. I think they're really great. They have a lot of potential in the game. I know RP Law, you know, he's coming really hard in OP06, especially after EV set releases. But with all that said, let's get into this leader that we're talking about today, which is going to be green and black Issho. I know that on this channel we've talked about this guy here before, but he just continues to just amaze me and just continue to just do work. He is a very high skill gap leader, in my personal opinion. I think that you really need to put in a lot of work with him to make sure that he works as you need him to work, because he's just a very difficult leader to pilot. But once you learn him, he's very rewarding, and very fun, and an extremely fun leader to play, actually. But let's go ahead and get into the deck list. And to start off, I'm running one Mancherry. Mancherry's ability goes really good in this deck with being able to cycle out most of the cards that you want to see again in the game. Mancherry will let you go ahead and do that. I'll try and put up what these cards do on the side here as well. We're running for Tsuru. And this card is just your 2K counter. Also doubles as reducing monsters cost by 2, but mostly just your 2K counter. On to the next one. Running 4 brand new. 4 brand new being mandatory for this deck because it is a Navy type build and it does want to take advantage of the Navy cards that it has in it. It really wants to go ahead and utilize those to go ahead and push for a game, put pressure on your opponent, put all the advantage in your favor. That helps you search out all those cards that help you do that. Be going into the 3 cost cards now, and this is a bit out of order, but I'll explain a little bit in the future what all this is for. But 2 Bartholomew, and this guy is just great. This guy just does a lot for you. He's a 2K counter, and he is also a blocker, and he's also really good in this deck because he pairs well with your 4 cost Rebecca. In this deck, you can actually go ahead and fetch this with Rebecca, and then restand it. So it just gives you 2 blockers for the cost of 1. Play 4 Tashigi. Again, you're going to mostly use her for her 2K counter. There might be some niche situations where you will use her to reduce by 2. There might be a couple of times where that might come up. The cool thing about having cards like these is that you can play this and use the effect and then restand it so your opponent can't swing back at it, effectively giving you a -2 on top of your -1 with your leader ability. So there's always that. And again, another choice target for swinging with another choice target for summoning off of Rebecca. Speaking of which, we also run 3 Kobe. You can actually increase this to more if you like. I think that 4 actually isn't a bad number. I was actually just testing it at 3. I was just running it at 4. I personally do recommend 4, but right now you're just seeing it at 3 because it's just how I had the deck built and to present to everybody. But Kobe is really good for KOing. I wanted to give this kind of sort of like a Sakazuki-esque effect, and saying as though we don't have Hound Blaze, the next best thing is this Kobe for essentially doing what Hound Blaze does in terms of removing a creature off of the board. A bit of a higher cost, but still effective. 2 Hina. Again, this is just part of your 3-cost package. These cards just work for well with your Rebecca. All 3 of these sets of cards that I just showed you. The combo here, I'm gonna actually go over this here in a second, but these particular cards work really good with Rebecca and really good with using her ability to put these back into play and reuse their effects again. Unfortunately, I do not play something of the nature of Law because I just couldn't find any kind of room in this deck for Law, although I do think that if someone can find room for Law in this deck, he'll be pretty beneficial, as his effect is pretty darn baller for bouncing back all those 3 costs that you just seen. Which brings us into our next 3 costs and a little bit of our green package. We're playing 2 Okiku. This is a really good for getting blockers out of your way. See, black and blue has the advantage of bottom decking, and you don't really have the ability to bottom deck in here, so you have to go with an alternative option. And what better alternative option than to rest characters as opposed to removing them from field. This will come in handy for mirror matches, for whenever you're playing against any other black deck and they play Barcelino and you can't get rid of that Barcelino. This is just a good way of getting around their Barcelino so that you can just get into their life. Playing 1 Kuzan. I'm not the biggest fan of Kuzan, but he doesn't need to be in the deck. He's just good to have in the deck. That -4 is really good. There is a card that I was running over him. I was actually running the Son Goku, cost 5 with counter, but does the same exact effect as him, just when attacking -something/4. It's just a little bit stronger and has counter and just, but doesn't draw you one. But still a really good card to keep in the deck. Playing 4 or 3 of the Rob Lucci. This is another card that I had at 4, but I am running at 3. You can fill up your graveyard pretty quickly in this deck, especially with brand new and some of the other cards that you do run, pitching cards. You do also run some events in here that help towards filling up your graveyard, but this is just a good black card, and he just does work in whatever black deck he's in. And in this particular deck, he's still very good, still very much does what you want him to do, KOing 2 units your opponent controls. And you're able to do that really easy with your leader ability, being able to -2 creatures by 2, and then being able to just use events, kind of like Sakazuki does, to just reduce stuff. Really cool. We hinted at her earlier, but for Rebecca, Rebecca again is the heart and soul of your deck. She provides so much versatility for this deck. She just allows this deck to do so many different things. She combos well with pretty much everything, bro. She combos well with your Lucci, as I told you before. She combos well with Hina, she combos well with Kobe. She combos well with Jashigi. She combos well with Bartholomew. Like, you can just get all these cards back and replay them and then restand them. One of my most powerful plays that I actually like to do in this deck is to summon Rebecca and then summon the Bartholomew rested from trash, and then end of my turn restanding him, effectively giving me 2 blockers to block with for that turn if I needed that. Or, you know, like if I need to KO something, then I have the Kobe and I can use that to KO something after a little bit level reduction. Just, you know, giving you that versatility. We do play 4 of the Barcelino. This is just a necessary blocker in the deck. I think that all black decks should be running this card. It's just a really good card. 6k defense, indestructible, just great blocker. Really helps you keep your defenses up, really helps you keep your opponent off of you, really makes it so that they have to start investing Dawn into their swings. And when they're unsuccessful, it really hurts. Running 2 Sabo. This is something that I also believe that you can take up to 3. I actually almost recommend taking this up to 3. Actually, once I get 1 more Sabo, I will be running another one. This card again helps with your Lucci plays, helps with your Mancherry, helps with putting cards that you want to see in the graveyard so you can fetch them back with Rebecca. Just really great black card, really good blocker. Keeps your cards from being KO'd on top of, like I say, cycling, plus placing cards in the graveyard so that in the later turns, if you've got all the necessary pieces, you can start KOing larger creatures with your Lucci because you've just set up for that. Then we have the one Garp. Garp is really good in here. His cost 5 is a little steep, but once he's established on the board, if he can stick around, he's just going to do work for you every single turn. Especially if you got level reduction or cost reduction, then he's just definitely going to make sure that your opponent doesn't keep anything on board, especially with him being able to pop 4 cost allure. That's a very high cost. It's very easy for you to get monsters to be in range of that. So Garp, really good. Next, the one of going back into our green package is playing Creed. Creed is a very good card. I think that he's actually going to be way better in Perona, because in Perona you'll be able to utilize his ability a little bit more effectively, seeing that she allows you to rest. That is also why we play the Akikus, because we wanted to be able to have the ability to rest creatures and pop creatures that we wanted to have rested if we had this in our hand. I was in a game with yellow. I've actually been in a couple of games with yellow where they will play the 4 cost that plays Holy, and then on the following turn they'll swing with both, and then the turn after that I'll play him, KOing both of those units without having to put any kind of effort into KOing them or having to have Rob Lucci to KO him. His effect does that pretty good for just removing monsters. And he has, give him a Dawn, he gets double attack, so that can also come really in handy, be really useful in the late game. Just being able to take 2 life from your opponent. Playing the one Issho character, and his on-play ability lets you take 2 cards from your opponent's hand, and his Dawn ×1, much like the leader, gives everybody on board -3 cost. So him in combination with your leader is a -4 to everything that your opponent has on board. That is very detrimental. His on-play effect is kind of cool. I do like to use him for his own play effect. When it does get off, it does get off, but I mostly like to play him on board for that minus effect. That minus effect is actually everything. It provides you with so much versatility in this deck. It allows you to just KO larger creatures that you wouldn't normally be able to KO because your opponent wasn't thinking about the fact that this will reduce all the cost of their creatures, putting everything, pretty much everything in range for whatever it is you want to get off the board. I do play 1 10 cost Doflamingo. I think that this card is another green card that I almost want to say goes in almost every green deck, because he will steal you a game for sure. A game that you were about to lose, he will definitely put you in a winning position to win that game. He is just a great card. His effect is just amazing. It really puts a hindrance on anything that your opponent had planned or anything that they can do. Then we have onto the events. We have 4 Great Eruption. This being a Navy card makes it so that it's a little easier to see this, especially with your brand new. Doesn't really need any more introduction. We all know what this card does. It's very good for cost reduction, keeping your hand size up, and helping you clear out units. It's one of the greatest black cards. If anything is limited, I probably think that this will probably get limited. This probably should be limited. It's a very good, very versatile event that does a lot for black. And then the next event we have is Ice Age. 2 of those, 2 Ice Age, to help you get rid of larger creatures on the board. Again, another Navy target, so it's also searchable. You can add that to your hand with the brand new. Then we're running 3 Shockwave. This is another card that I say you can run 4 of. There's nothing wrong with it. It's trigger out of life. It's actually pretty useful, especially on your opponent's turn when you're playing against, like, again, a mirror match where they got a Barcelona on the field and you can't really necessarily get rid of it. This will allow you to get rid of that Barcel quick fashion and hurry. It'll allow you to keep pushing. Plus the plus 9k to whatever they're swinging into, or plus 4 to whatever they're swinging into, is actually really good. Really helps you stay alive. Something that your opponent, if they're not expecting or planning for, then it will catch them completely off guard and they will lose units to its secondary effect, which is to KO one of your opponent's active 3 costs or less. And the last card of the deck is going to be this Become. Because the side of justice will be whichever side wins. This is another really good card. Its trigger is really good. It allows you to rest one of your opponent's cost 4 lore that can really come in handy if you needed to. It's also good for filling up your graveyard for your Lucci plays. Also good for giving you an additional 3,000. Also good for getting dead cards out of your hand. It just has a lot of work that it can do for your deck towards getting you to what you want to get to, or getting done what you want to get done. But that is the black and green Issho deck. Thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.